Hey guys, I'm going to give you a quick rundown on what you get in the kit of a set of X80s from Futurize, and we're going to go in depth into how to install it on your bike. My bike's obviously going to be different to yours, but it should apply to most bikes as this is a non-CAN bus system and fairly simple to install. So let's get stuck into it. Quick rundown on what you get in your kit when you buy a set of Galaxy X80s by Futurize off 6upmoto.com.au. First of all, we have rubber shims to protect your crash cage or frame. They go internally on the mounting brackets. Now these come in different internal diameters to suit your bike or frame size or crash cage size. Obviously the two mounting brackets, we have a large selection of mounting brackets to suit the actual on-off switch for the kit, mounting hardware and tools, and some zip ties to tie everything up, and obviously the lights. The bike we're going to be fitting these lights to today is my own personal KTM 1290 Super Adventure R. Now before we get started, I want to pre-warn a lot of you guys out there, this is a 23-year model bike. Now most bikes around that time, a little bit earlier and up to today, are a CAN bus system that controls most of the lighting on these bikes. Now, essentially, go look that up if you're not sure what it is, but it means that there's a computer controlling the operation of the headlights. So I really don't want you guys probing for a high beam signal on these bikes and damaging a computer on your bike, essentially. Now, if you're unsure, please do the research on your bike if you want to have it switched on with your high beam. But essentially this kit doesn't need that. It has its own standalone switch and it is very simple to install on a bike like this. So let's get stuck into it and I'll show you exactly how simple it is. Now essentially the first step is to start removing everything out of their little packets, get all your mounts for your lights connected to your lights. Obviously refer to your instruction manual as to how that all goes together with the screws and everything like that. Get them set up so we can place them on the bike where we need to and figure out where we need to run the wiring. Now what I also love about these lights is they have a lower mounting and an upper mounting for the bracket to actually connect to. So depending on how you want to mount them to your bike, there's an unlimited amount of options on how to mount them. Plus the mounts themselves, as I'll show you in a second, are infinitely adjustable. But what I would also recommend is to go out, if you don't already have some, get some Loctite and put some on all the bolts that you're doing on this, because the vibration on corrugated roads, things like that, can loosen some of these bolts up and you don't want to lose these lights. So once you've pre-assembled the bracketry on either the bottom or the top of the light, depending on how you want to actually mount it to your bike, you need to just sort of visualize and see where it's going to be. I want mine sort of tucked in and as close to the front as possible. You'll need to go through those rubber grommets and pick out the one that's right for the diameter of your bar. Now, as you'll see, this has got a bit of a gap in it, but that's exactly what we want. We don't want it just to spin around on the bar, so pick out the one that's right for your bar and get the light mounted with the clamp provided. Now once you get them mounted on the bike, you will understand how infinite the adjustment is on mounting these lights. You could turn them right out, you can turn them any way you want to. The bracketry is designed to have the mounting bar at any angle and still have these lights facing in the right direction. Now as I did mention in the kits, it comes with a couple of different style brackets to go on your bike. Obviously just run through on your bike where you want the switch mounted and what bracket's actually going to be good for you. I'm going to go with this one. So the screws that it comes with to mount the switch obviously are very, very small. Be very careful not to lose them. And the same thing, obviously put some Loctite on them just to keep them secure. Now you're only going to need the 2 screws to mount it. The switch itself only has 2 screw holes behind them. So you can see you can have this flipped that way or that way, whichever way you want to run it. Now they do come with some extra screws, so don't worry if you accidentally lose one, but be very careful not to lose all of them, obviously. But once that's all done and tight, we'll get it bolted onto the bike. Okay, so I've gone ahead and pre-selected that the mounting position I want it is to use this actual mirror bracket bolt here, which is part of the clutch master cylinder. That's probably going to be the closest I'm going to get to my hand without sort of needing to reach too far over on the bike. So I'm pretty happy with that. It's a bit of a problem with this bike having a big switchgear assembly right here, but I'm pretty happy with where that's actually going to sit. That's actually not going to be too bad to get to without releasing my hand from the actual handlebars themselves. Right, now that's actually mounted, I'll run the cabling down with the zip ties that are provided, get that down through the center of the bike and back behind the seat. Righto, so now we've got our lights run through the bike and our switch run through the bike. I'm going to quickly go ahead now and just connect those portions to the actual controller itself. And there's the switch portion of it, and then the 2 lights, and then I'm going to just shove it down in between the ABS and the battery module here. It's a good thing these are very thin, so there's nothing of them. Like most bikes, these are very limited for space underneath here, and then we'll go ahead and make our electrical connections to the bike. Now guys, be very sure of your routing of these cables. As you can see here, the seat wants to sit as low as possible, so obviously try to run them obviously next to these looms if you can, but just be very aware of any pinch points that might damage any of the wiring. Righto, now that we've got the wiring coming from the lights and the switch all neatened in and put away, just to make it a little bit easier just to play with only the connection portion. As I said, refer to your instruction manual as to what the connections are. Now, you may want to connect your horn flash. Now, the horn flash is if you toot your horn, the lights will actually rapid flash like a flashing camera. Not necessary in Australia per se. We have, most bikes have the flash light switch on the top of the switch gear anyways, but if you want to wire that in, go ahead. On my bike, I'm not doing this. All we're going to simply be doing is the battery connections, your positive and negative directly to the battery, and then your accessory wire. Now, if you buy a set of these off 6upmoto.com.au, I will be throwing in one of these. Now, I'll put it up on the screen right now. Now, this is a seamless way to tap into what would be your fuse box. Now, if you look here, we have a multitude of fuses that are hidden away in this little fuse panel here. Now, next what you'll need is a test light to make things a little bit easier. Now, you can get one of these from your local auto store. They're around the $5 mark. There's some cheaper versions out there if you think you're only going to use it once, or borrow one from a mate. However you can get your hands on one. These are crucial to try and find a signal very easily for your ignition. So the connection that I showed you before will tap into the actual fuse panel itself, and it will cater for the original fuse that was in that panel and the extra output to trigger the module for the lights. So we want to connect the test light to a known ground, either on the battery, or in my case, I have a couple of cables going to the actual chassis of the bike. And in your fuse panel, you will find that you'll have some fuses that are lit up constantly and some that are not. So what you essentially need to do is simply just find one that will turn on with your ignition. like that one there. And there is your ignition on for your module. The thing too is if you're not using your horn flash or your high beam trigger in the system, you can simply disconnect those wires and just remove them altogether from the system. Essentially what we're left with then is the only 3 wires we actually need to hook up. We have a battery constant and a negative, which go directly to your battery, and then your accessory wire, which is labeled as accessories. Now, in my case, this is a very long cable, so I'm actually going to cut it back. And with the kit from 6up Moto, I'm going to use my fuse adapter and join that directly onto that loom there. Now, stripping back that accessory wire, all you do is place it in the joiner. Now, I've got the correct crimpers for this joiner, but you can use a pair of pointy noses or bull noses as long as you don't cut through the joiner, and just make sure that it is firm in there and it's not going to come out. Now, with this joiner, there's 2 portions for a fuse. Now, the top portion is the actual piggyback portion for the futurized system. So with the fuse supplied, you just put it in the top side of the fuse holder on the adapter. And then earlier, as we've identified that top fuse there as the accessory fuse, we're going to go ahead and remove that and place it in the bottom portion of the adapter or the piggyback, and then insert that back into the fuse holder itself, and then that gives us our ignition. Now with that, all we've got left is to hook up our positive and negative wires, which have horseshoe terminals, which mean that you don't have to pull the bolt for your battery completely out, just loose enough to slip them under and make the connection. Now I do recommend obviously hooking up the earth first. Just some bikes are a bit more sensitive than others with removing terminals. Now with those connections made, all I need to do now is just tidy this area up a little bit and make it a little bit more neater, and then we'll take a look at how these lights operate. Okay, let's take a look at the final result. So we'll just turn the ignition on, and there you'll see DRL start up there. Now it's a quite simple operation. They will default to that every time you turn off and on the ignition. So what you'll do is you'll come up to your switch, and on the light, the headlight symbol on the left hand side, you'll tap it once, you'll get your low beam, tap it again, you get your high beam, tap it again, goes back to low beam. So they'll stay in that configuration. If you want to turn it off altogether, you hit the right hand side, which is this little lightning bolt symbol. You just tap it quickly and the whole thing goes out. So to turn it back on, you can simply just tap the light switch on the left hand side, and it'll go back to the DRL, tap it for low, tap it for high. Very, very simple. It also has a strobing effect. If you hold that lightning symbol, it will strobe, you know, maybe for if you're trying to signal somebody or just on the side of the road, you know, you want to warn somebody, tap it again, it all turns off. Righto, so just for reference, I've got the lights off in the workshop here. Now, the DRL works only when the ignition's on. For the headlight to be on this bike, it needs to be running. So for audio purposes, I won't do it just yet, but I will do it and overlap the video. So as you can see, we have our DRLs on our X80s. So we'll just look against the wall and see what the actual X80s are doing, and then I'll overlap that video with the headlight on as well. Righto, so there we go. We've got glow from our factory DRL in the headlight there. So we'll just turn that on. There's low beam from the X80s. So as you can see, very widespread beam with a nice cut-off point so it doesn't get in the oncoming traffic eyes. These lights probably need to be just spread out a little bit. I'll have to take it out tonight and we'll adjust them a little bit, but very good to see into the sides of the bush, just to make sure there's no kangaroos coming out at you. Tap it again, and there's our high beam. So a very direct beam to get the distance out of the light. So it's very impressive. I'll take, as I said, I'll take you out tonight and we'll have a good look at what they look like on the road. So venturing out at night, I went down to my local Australian typical dirt road. Now, you'll see there we have a normal low beam from the factory headlight, and overlaying that we go low beam on the X80s and high beam on the factory headlight, and then high beam on the X80s on top of that. So there you go, guys, all installed. Very easy, as you just saw. Now, that took me about 2 hours. It's going to obviously vary for your bike and your capabilities. It may take you a little bit longer. Some bikes are a little bit difficult to run wiring through. But when you're running your wiring, please keep it away from the exhaust and try and keep it away from the engine as best as possible. Also, with the switchgear on the handlebars, make sure that you go lock to lock on the handlebars so you see that the wiring is not being pulled on or in a pinch point. But if you want to pick up your set of Galaxy X80s by Futurize, you can do so by going to 6upmoto.com.au and pick up your set. As I mentioned, I will be putting in the fuse adapter for that with that kit. If you buy elsewhere, you won't get that. And if you have any troubles with the wiring itself, I'll attempt to help you out. You can reach out to me at 6upmoto@gmail.com.